Curiosity is the name of the game if you want to have collaboration, trust, and change in your organizations.
In a world of unprecedented change, success in business requires complex problem solving, quick response times, and continual innovation. And above all, collaborative teams working in harmony. With the right mindset and the right tools, we can align people, create innovation, embed vision, and sustain excellence. And a great place to start is curiosity.
Curiosity is a trait that's growable, but a really interesting thing happens when you grow curiosity. Collaboration comes along with it. Do you know what about you draws people in? Do you know what about you pushes people away? Now, if you don't know the answer to those questions, here's the thing, you're the only one that doesn't know. Now, if you knew the answers to those two things, collaboration becomes a lot easier. You see, collaboration is uncomfortable and unknown. If you already knew what it took to do it well, and it was comfortable to do it, you'd already be doing it in your teams. There is a big difference between cooperation, which is where we set aside our differences to achieve a minimum required, and collaboration, which is leaning into our strengths and leaning into our weaknesses so that new value for the customer and for the employee is created. There is a city of Malmo. It's in Sweden. I think it's Sweden's second biggest city, and in the early 90s it was rife with unemployment. And then in Copenhagen it was the opposite problem. It was booming, and they had all kinds of jobs, and they needed workers. So the two cities started talking, like, how do we get people from Malmo to come over to Copenhagen to be our employees? And the problem is the 20 miles of water that are between the two cities. So they tried boats, but Swedish citizens didn't want to spend the week in Copenhagen and then only get to spend the weekends with their families. They tried planes, but the fuel of flying that many planes over to bring that many workers over was too expensive. They thought about a bridge, but the Copenhagen International Airport sits right next to the harbor, and you couldn't build a bridge there because it's in the airspace. So they thought, what about a tunnel? Well, on the Malmo side, Malmo is the biggest port for Sweden. And if you put a tunnel in, it makes the water too shallow for boats to safely go into port. So it seems like we're at an impasse until collaboration happens. And they brought in excavating experts, policy experts, diplomats, city officials, engineers, and they came up with this idea. What if we put a bridge over the port side? And as we come across, we'll make a man-made island. We know how to do that. And on that man-made island, we'll have the cars right in the middle of the harbor dive down into the water into a tunnel. And they'll go through the tunnel the rest of the way to Copenhagen. So what was an intractable problem became a 20-minute drive. When you lean into your strengths and your weaknesses with others that have completely disparate interests and are unsure how the thing can work, you can create brand new value. Not only did it solve the jobs crisis and the housing crisis, it also created 10 times the tourist dollars because people traveling to Sweden now could get to Denmark in 20 minutes. So the bridge tunnel paid for itself in half the time that they thought it would, because they created brand new value when they collaborated. Remember, we talked about silos, and silos don't move all that well. So what is strong enough to move a silo? If we can find that, we can make collaboration happen. We can make trust happen. We can make change happen. We don't have any problem changing our diet. We don't have any problem changing our socks or our underwear. But a manager comes to us in our teams at work and says, we're going to be making a change. And all of a sudden, there's huge resistance. Why? And it's always a people problem. But nobody here, of course. You are all easy to please, go with the flow, and nobody here resists change. I'm not talking about this audience. It's them. You know that if you had a system that would make that easier, it would sure be nice to have that in your back pocket the next time you had to run the meeting about it, right? In the world of rugby, the New Zealand All Blacks are #1 in the world. In fact, they're the #1 winningest team anywhere ever in the history of organized sport. They win their games at about an 80% rate. They're incredible. So what they're taught is, wear your blue hat. You see, if you've got a red hat on, a red hat gives you permission to defend yourself, get yourself justice, do what's right for you, express your emotion, say what you need to say, because it's just how I am. You see, when I grew up, one of the things my mom would tell me is, hands are for hugging, not for hitting. And I can tell you on the rugby field, they are not listening to what their mothers taught them. And when those guys are having their family jewels hammered and when their eyes are being gouged, they're taught, don't put your red hat on. You can choose to wear your red hat. Your red hat serves you. Or you can choose to wear your blue hat. And your blue hat says, is whatever I'm about to do serving me or serving the team?
Jason brings outstanding value to any organisation because he can do a couple of really key things. Firstly, he can bring in the top skills, the top tools to look at mindset and to look at the innovation and creativity. You're going to go to him with particular problems that you're trying to solve, and actually he's going to ask better questions, give you better insight than you're after in the first place, and leave you with real value.
Jason was a real pleasure to work with because he was open to talking through his talk with us and tailoring it in order to meet the needs of our audience.
Jason takes a lot of interest in understanding people's perspectives and then looking at how he can add some value through his special skill sets.
And overwhelmingly, people said, let's do more of this. And we particularly enjoyed Jason as the speaker.
The other thing is he works really well with staff. He's got fantastic facilitation skills and runs brilliant workshops that bring energy and challenge. I could not recommend working with Jason highly enough.
So in order to make your team more robust, stronger, more curious, able to lean into your weaknesses together, understand what might be stopping you, just simply choose to wear your blue hat and commit to making your next 12 months better than your last 12 months. Thank you very much. Thank you.